didn't expect.
Rarely, I would think, do you have a fully developed lyric before you write a song. There's not very often that you write a poem and then go, how do I turn this into a song?
Some people do that, though.
Some people do. I'm talking about me or us. I think there are definitely times when a word or a phrase is like, wow, that would make a great song. What does that sound like when it's sung? How would I sing that phrase? Because it's just such a great turn of phrase. Something comes into your mind. I think melody and rhythm for me, though, is it's the strongest. It creates an emotional feeling before lyrics do, and so that, I think, tends to come first. Not always, you write every different way, but in general, I think what people hear first when they hear a song is they hear melody and rhythm. Probably rhythm before melody.
Because how many of us really know or care what Michael Jackson sings in half of his songs?
Get my baby down.
Bob Dylan is kind of the same way. Brilliant lyrics, but you can't understand half of them.
I think,
you know what I mean? It's just kind of like...
There's no hard and fast rule, but I think that's true, particularly about pop music. People hear rhythm, and then melody, and then lyrics.
But a great lyric can completely change what you do. And it can make the song, take the song from, well, that's pretty cool, to, oh my God,
Well, how about a good example of that is These Walls.
Oh, well, that's a small one.
Yeah, but it made the difference between us really being happy with the song and not being happy with the song.
These Walls have been around a long time, and then the last lyric was always the filler lyric of the chorus. It was just a fill-in word, and it was the last line was moonlit nights instead of compromise. Literally, they've just been around for a long time. It's like, this is not right. That's just, what's the word?
And then I feel like
just the word. Maybe I've been, just another conclusion of. Or whatever it is, my brain. Anyway, the word compromise was, for me, changed everything. I was like, oh, that is the point. So, okay, I'm going to pick somebody. There's loud people over there. Okay, up top. Yeah.
Mais t'es trop timide là. Hier,
Well, I mean, it was mostly based on how many people voted. Well, it was. I mean, at the end,
we said mostly.
It was mostly. I mean,
to be honest, there were some remixes that were terrible that people voted on. And it's not intended to be mean to the people who made the mix. It's just
not saying who they are.
It's just sometimes I think a lot of people who were fans of the band decided to give it a shot. To remix, and in some cases it was their cup of tea, in some cases it wasn't. That's not intended to be mean, that's just sort of, but we looked a lot at who were the top voted, and then sort of from that took our favorites from the top voted people. I mean, ultimately we had to put it out. We wanted it to be something that felt authentic, that we were happy with. Not just go, oh, that was the top voted and we don't like it, but we're going to put it out anyway. It just didn't seem like it, our whole mantra as a band, that would go against it.
That being said, there were a lot of really cool ones, and we loved the idea of doing that. We wanted to do things like that for years, and just to be able to put the music out there and see what happens.
I know Ike had a list, I don't know if he still has it, of mixes that he was like, I like that idea, I want to go back to that person and tell them to try it again.
I will basically tell them how to kind of motivate it further.
I want to critique the remixes.
Yes.
It's pretty good, but let me tell you something, kids.
I don't know. I guess I just...
Of course.
That's 15 years of writing songs. I don't know. I'm not a...
20 years, I...
Yeah, 20 years of writing songs.
Yikes. A couple of years of bad songs, but... Okay. What do we up there. Whoever just said yeah, I can't see anything. So, somebody that's waving a piece of paper.
Yes, I would like to know if you know how many copies of the album you've sold so far, because here in London there is at least 4 HMVs that are sold out.
We don't have the final figures actually. The way they report them, we don't have yet. But I would say if you're not sure how many, if you want to help, just buy 2.
That's done already. We bought 2 already.
You guys are amazing. So, or tell someone else too. I think HM. Unfortunately, it's not necessarily the sign that they're just completely, blowing off the shelves. A lot of it is retail is messed up. That's why it's going away in the whole world.
Yeah.
They don't stock things appropriately. They don't put them where people really want them. It's a mess. And so sometimes the place where you would sell the most, they don't put them in those stores. So if you do want it, and if you're looking for it, and if you're wanting to get a copy here, because the album here is different as far as the packaging goes. It has the Best of 5 DVD, which is like most of the singles from 505 in New York on a DVD, which is pretty cool.
And you get it for £8.
I would honestly,
or $9.
I wish there was a better example, but the truth is, labels don't control what retailers do, only to some degree, and the way they stock albums is a complete mess. So you kind of have to go, well, it's not here, and look for another one. But thanks for going out and getting, if you went out and you know that means you went out to get the album, so awesome. Thank you. Okay. I crunch it. It's so hard to pick, you guys.
Why not on the end?
I get to pick far over here in the blue, green. I don't know. Green. I can't tell the lights in my eyes. Well, we decided to do the story this time partially because it is a direct extension of the DVD package. If anybody does not already have it, there is a real in-depth, I guess it's probably an hour.
Where we sat down and talked about the records, and I think it just felt like, why don't we do that live and let people ask questions and be a part of it. And
we haven't been in the UK and we haven't been in Europe in a really long time, and it felt like a really nice way to create an added benefit for people that were willing to come to all 5 nights and that wanted to be a part of it. And it just
honestly just felt like something different. And if it's different, it's interesting. And we're glad you've enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Yes. So why don't you've been waving both arms in the back? You're doing jumping jacks over there? Doing a workout program in the back line? Okay. Yeah.
And it talks about a breakup and handling the pain of being alone, and I can relate to that as a single woman, that you have and always being surrounded by friends and your family, and I wanted to know how much it's great helpful for you.
Yeah. Well, me, myself, the question was about me, myself, and I, and just the story around it, essentially.
I think she's
how we've understood, where the inspiration came from, or the fact that you said you identify with loneliness as a single woman. I can't identify with being a single woman, but I can try. We can try.
At one point in your life, you did identify as single women.
Yes, definitely. Absolutely. God bless him. Loneliness, pain, those kinds of stories, that's not necessarily, most of the hardest stuff, I think, is the stuff that people don't see. The pain, something you're struggling with, oftentimes, it's not like everyone you know is like, wow, that person's really in pain. And that's probably a lot of times why it's painful. And so I think songs like Me, Myself, and I are actually about sort of that private decision to deal with loneliness.
That's going on my life.
Well, I think that doesn't necessarily, you can't take it too literally. It relates, I guess the short answer is, I'm not going to go into, well, there was this person, and they did this, and they did this. I think for each of us, it probably has different meanings. I think there are pieces of different people in that song, and it's really about sort of finding
Peace.
finding peace with your pain. You know, it's like finding a way to deal with it, finding somehow a resolve that says, I'm actually not gonna get rid of this. It's gonna be here, and I'm gonna find a way to deal with it. And sometimes that is the story. You know, is like, hey, well, deciding to start over and imagine that things are perfect is not actually going to happen. But part of the whole decision with life is just figuring out how you decide to go forward. And Me, Myself, and I is sort of, you know, articulating that and saying, hey, loneliness, pain, struggle is what you get sometimes. And
well, it's very similar to the song you're singing, actually, in a lot of ways, as far as its kind of emotional backbone. It has a very similar kind of dealing with pain in that way.
Just because you're in a relationship or not, I think oftentimes being in a relationship can create stronger emotions in that way, because the feeling of losing something, the feeling of trying to hold on to something. In the sense of the loneliness, it doesn't necessarily exist only when you're alone. Sometimes loneliness is worse when you're together.
Think about Underneath. Like, one of my favorite lines from a song of ours is the pre-chorus of Underneath. Sitting all alone in this place, even though we're here face to face. Like, there's nothing wrong. There's something gone. There's nothing gone. There's something wrong. That's where real pain and struggle comes in, is the stuff that people aren't really saying. It's that connection you have with somebody, and then that loss of connection. And you know, it's not a childlike thing where it's like, I'm mad, I'm happy, I'm mad. You know, it's the fact that those things sometimes are right stacked on top of each other, and that's part of getting through life. You know?
I would also say, though, that in a lot of ways, much like most Hanson songs, on some level or another, there's a kernel of the reason why the chorus is Me, Myself, and I will never be alone. We'll find a way to get along. We'll be fine when all that's left is Me, Myself, and I. Is on some level or another, you're saying, look, I can't be happy unless I'm happy with me. I can't. A whole relationship doesn't consist of two half people. It consists of two whole people, and two people who are supporting one another.
What he's saying is that line in Jerry Maguire, "You complete me," it's crap.
Oh no.
Cameron Crowe, you lied. We have a lot of music to play for you guys, a whole album. We really have had an amazing time this week. We feel so privileged to get to do this. Thank you guys for waiting in the rain. Many of you for walking in the rain. For traveling from afar to be here. I met somebody from Dubai that was here, Israel, India, all over Europe, Brazil, Australia, so many places.
All over the friggin' place.
You know, with Shout It Out, this is a send-off tonight, the final album. We really are hoping to shout it out in a lot of places where you guys have come from to see us. And so, I hope that tonight, that you guys will just let it loose, make some noise with us. Take this with you, and throw it against the wall, splash that bright color against the blank canvas. And we'll be back on stage in just a little while to give you a soundtrack for that.
Thank you all very much.